Right. Good evening, everybody. It having reached the hour of 5:30 p.m., I am calling the August 20th, 2025 Community Police Review Board meetings order. Brief announcement. Before proceeding, I would like to provide the board members some guidance on how to use the technology at the dais. To speak, you'll need to use the mics, which are activated by pushing the push or talk button. And you will need to wait for the chair to acknowledge the speaker before proceeding to talk. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Member Beasley Day. Member Bryant.
Present.
Member Byrd.
Present.
Member Christensen.
Present.
Member Demrell.
Here.
Member Grant. Member Smith.
Present.
Member Hahn.
Here.
Chairman Solorio.
Present. On to the declaration of conflict of interest. Do any of the board members have any conflicts of interest pertaining to items listed on the agenda? All right, seeing none. We'll move on to public comments for in-person only. As noted on the agenda, public comments will be only in person. Zoom will still be available for viewing and working translation. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? Please note that there are no public comments from items 5 through 8. This is for items not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone wishing to address the board is asked to follow the rules of decorum. And the rules of decorum are posted at the entrance of the chambers. I'll actually be reading some of the meeting decorums. Please be respectful of all presenters, board members, staff, and members of the public. Please refrain from clapping other than following the presentation. All speakers are encouraged to state their name and city of residence. All questions must be directed to the chair. Please do not block the view of others by holding signs up during board meetings. Time limit for public comments is 3 minutes, but may be limited at the discretion of the chair to manage the business of the board. Speaking over others or interrupting while others have the floor is not permitted, and cell phones should be turned off or shall be set to vibrate during meetings. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? I believe I do have one card. We have Steve.
I messed up. I actually am going to be speaking.
On the agenda.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Hey, is there anyone else out in public?
I just have a question. So is this, could you repeat what you just said about where on the agenda, the comments?
So if you want to leave a comment for, let's say tonight's presentation on homelessness, you would wait until that presentation is given, and then once it's done, then you can come up and speak on it. And then you can also speak on the approval of the annual report recommendations under that. But if you would like to speak on anything other than those 2 items, now would be the time.
I would like to do.
Okay, go ahead and come up to the desk.
Oops, gotta get my paper. Hi, my name is Mary Rogers and I'm a resident of Modesto. I urge the Police Oversight Board to request that the City Council remove the mask wearing restrictions from ordinance 4-23.02. There are many possible legal challenges which highlight the complexities of balancing public safety concerns with the fundamental rights of individuals to protest and express their views. If the ordinance remains unchanged in this regard, these challenges will be unnecessarily expensive to our city in the long run. Here is what I believe is a very hard fact about Modesto. Modesto is willing to allow masked ICE agents to carry out heinous, non-peaceful actions against its residents every day. Modesto could legally choose to do otherwise, but it has not. To further deny our own citizens the same right to wear masks at protests in their pursuit of their fundamental right to dissent. That is hypocrisy in government at its worst. Now is the time for change. Allegations of discriminatory police practices have been going on here in Modesto. The underlying issue of discrimination is not a new police issue in Modesto. I feel the risks involved with mask restrictions at protests far outweigh the benefits. Some of those risks include infringement on the First Amendment rights of free speech, as well as the right to dissent and the right to protest anonymously. The ACLU has voiced its opinion on the potential for violating due process and undercutting the legitimate exercise of free speech, protected by federal and state laws. Now is the time for change. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else on the public? Steve?
I think I'm still a little unclear. I thought that that was actually the agenda.
Oh, no, if you want to speak on, yeah, that's not gonna be the agenda item tonight.
Nobody can tell me I'm not have faith though, right?
Huh?
Nobody can tell me I don't have any faith. I had faith. I thought I had heard that somebody had put that on the agenda for the night. But I guess I either heard wrong or misinformed. It must have been one of those bright, clear blue days that put me in a good mood, made me want to believe in the people in this godforsaken town. So we're gonna talk about it though, right? I want to talk about a cool little legal term I recently learned. So the Stanislaus County District Attorney seems to have concluded that there was no evidence of a crime in my case from the protest on June 14th. So that means what was the term? Due to lack of corpus. And if we consider all of the creepy stuff that Brandon was saying in his presentation last time in this meeting, it really all starts to make a lot of sense. And I just kind of want to pronounce that a little bit and make sure that we are not like ignoring the obvious and we're not like brainless about the historical moment that we're in. Okay. The ACLU released a statement about arrests that were made in DC when our stupid fascist dictator Pablo Flores decided to like take over a town for shits and giggles. People were being arrested for taking pictures. And I was like, whoa, crazy man, they're doing that in my town too. And then all I see is like nonchalance and dismissal. But the Modesto Police Department is not immune. They don't get like a free pass because they're local and like our cousin works there, or whatever reason it is that makes people so damned apathetic. So in his presentation, Brandon basically, obviously he couched it in terms that he and probably half of you clowns think lets him off the hook. But in the meaning and the actual content of his presentation, he just reworded an admission that there was no expectation that there was even crime happening because I can't remember the phrasing, but he distinctly said, and to me it was like, you know, kill them all, let God sort them out. So he made all these arrests knowing that it was then up to the courts to confirm whether he had an excuse to make these arrests. So when you've got, that's the same dude that's dictating these damn laws to the city council. That is grievous. That's not a small thing. So if we do end up living under a like full-fledged fascist state, don't any of you ever think that you can forget that you played your part in helping us get there. Because these are small local battles that we have to win if we want freedom. Brandon Gillespie is a goddamn bully. The Modesto Police Department is a threat to democracy. And all we want from you is just to do the job that you're called here to do and not be afraid of the Modesto Police Officers Association or anybody that tells you that you can't simply pursue accountability, please tell the city council to agendize a discussion of getting rid of that damn muni code. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else out in the public that'd like to speak?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex, from Sirius. I don't have any prepared statement this time, but, I guess I just kind of want to double down on what the past two speakers have just said, and that's basically that you guys, when you do put together your recommendation to the city council, it's just to make sure that the municipal code does get just completely repealed, especially the mass ordinance part. But personally, I would repeal the entire thing, because I don't believe in restrictions on freedom of speech, on the First Amendment, on protesting. That's a fundamental right that we are being given since basically the founding of this nation. And I just, the way I see it is the ACLU is pretty much the most prominent organization in protecting our constitutional rights. And it just makes more sense to listen to what they are recommending in their letter to you and to the city council. And just go straight to repealing. Like, I don't want to see it amended. I want to see it repealed. Because otherwise, we're gonna see the MPD and other law enforcement agencies just continue arresting people for tiny little infractions. So like just the other night, I was at the NAACP meeting, and I sat through this presentation talking about bullying. And the presenter, she made this case that bullying starts at home, and it's a lot that bullying is not exclusively in schools. It's not just children, it's adults. And that just made me think the whole time. What I'm seeing with the MPD is bullying. They're bullying the public who wishes to speak out, who cares about issues, and then deciding, nope, you're just gonna stop right there. I don't like how you're doing this. And it's basically at their discretion whether or not we're allowed to speak up on issues that matter to us. And this whole issue with ICE, like, it's pretty obvious what's going on. Like, we are having ICE agents that are masked up, and we're not holding them accountable because we can't identify them. And then who knows who else could be masking up and pretending to be ICE and just kidnapping people off the streets. So those are people that are in a position of power that should be held accountable. But those of us who are just protesting, what is there to hold accountable besides us exercising our First Amendment rights? So I'm just completely against anything that restricts our First Amendment rights. And so I just hope that when you guys review, all the stuff you've researched on this issue, and then when you do put together your recommendations to the council, it's just straight to a repeal. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Celia Garcia Perez. I'm a community member born and raised here in Modesto, California. I'm here to read a letter to you on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stanislaus County Social Justice Team. Esteemed board members, we stand in solidarity with members of the Central Valley Black, Indigenous, People of Color Coalition, CV-BIPOC, to support their demands for action by the Modesto City Council. These include: 1, a full repeal of Modesto City Ordinance 4-2302, Section 13, and any ordinances used to criminalize protest and violate our First Amendment rights. 2, increase accountability and oversight powers for this Community Police Review Board, so the board can initiate an independent investigation of Modesto Police Department conduct, tactics, and use of force, at the June 14 anti-deportation protest, as well as future instances of police misconduct and repression. 3, the social justice team of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stanislaus County commend the city's decision not to prosecute individuals who were arrested at the June 14th anti-deportation protest. Number 4, an end to the targeted political repression of Black, Brown, immigrant, poor, and radical voices in Modesto and across the Central Valley. We are in agreement with assessments of CB BIPOC and the ACLU of Northern California that enforcement of Modesto City Ordinance 42302 is problematic on its face and is a potential legal liability to the city, and that the disparate treatment of the anti-masking provision by the MPD at the June 14th anti-deportation protest lays bare yet additional constitutional problems as characterized by the ACLU. As a religious community, the social justice team of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stanislaus County holds that freedom of religion and freedom of speech are deeply interwoven. For us, speaking our shared values in public, including through protest, is part of our faith. Therefore, knowing that our allies in CB BIPOC and others seeking social justice and freedom are dissuaded from speaking, whether by the chilling effect of a law or the intimidation of a disparate enforcement, is unconscionable. Do the right thing and address the demands issued by CB BIPOC immediately and in good faith. This is signed by Paul Banson, chairperson of the social justice team of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stanislaus County, as well as Reverend Darcy Baxter. She is the minister of the UU Church. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have a quick response. Are you able to get that letter sent to Simi so she can get that letter sent to the entire board? Simi, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Laricana. I am a concerned community member and resident of Modesto. I usually have a prepared statement, but I don't this time. I'm here to echo what others have shared in terms of asking that the board move forward with a recommendation to the city council to repeal the unconstitutional ordinance. I've been to these meetings many times, as well as the city council meetings for the past couple of months, and I want to say I'm not here for fun or to waste anyone's time. I live a very busy life. I am sleep deprived. I work 2 jobs. So I'm here because I am deeply committed to my community and I care about the safety of my community. And I understand that public safety is a matter of us being able to care for each other and look out for each other and others. And I also understand that the threat of public safety does not just come from random people in the community. It can also come from law enforcement and it can come from the state. And I believe that is why this board was created in the first place. And so I want to emphasize the word community, given that this board's name is Community Police Review Board. And so I ask that you really take in all of the community input and testimonials that have been provided over these past couple of months, and that you hear us out now. And as well as the ACLU has provided, I believe, really compelling evidence in terms of why this ordinance is really unconstitutional and the way it can be enforced. Clearly, as demonstrated by the June 14th protests, how it can be really weaponized and selectively enforced in a discriminatory way against vulnerable people, particularly people of color, immigrants, housing insecure and unhoused young people. And I think, you know, the law isn't always a perfect reflection of morality. And when there is a law or a policy that is not reflecting the morality and the conscience of the people, then we need to remove it exponentially or expeditiously. And so, yeah, I just want to really emphasize that. I do want to acknowledge and appreciate this board for forming the ad hoc committee to review the ordinance. I think that's a good start. In particular, I want to especially appreciate board member Wendy Bird for moving forward with your advocacy on our behalf as well. And yeah, I just really want to emphasize the urgency of repealing this ordinance so that in this moment of time, especially with rising authoritarianism and fascism happening, it is really important that we as people feel safe to protest and to disrupt the injustice and oppression that we see, and repealing this ordinance is key for us to do that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come up and speak? And just a reminder, I know some people came in late, is a public comment for things that are not on tonight's agenda.
Hello, board members. Just to clarify really quickly, the, June 14, because the, municipal code, is that on the agenda tonight?
No.
Oh, alright. So my, public comment is going to be about the municipal code. I just want to reiterate, the demands of Central Valley BIPOC, as a member and also a concerned community member of Modesto. We're asking, please repeal this municipal code. There's been a lot of support from our community, from the ACLU, from Unitarian Church as well, from the NAACP. Thank you, Wendy Bird, for that advocacy again. And I think we've also spoken at city council meetings asking for the repealing of this municipal code. And it seems at this point that the city council doesn't want to, at least at the last meeting, they didn't really address all the public comments people were making. I think they might be waiting on the recommendation from this committee to go forward with that. So I just want to reiterate that recommendation would be really, really needed and helpful. I know there's an ad hoc committee that was formed, so thank you for that. I just want to reiterate that recommendation, I think, would really help move in that positive direction to get this municipal code repealed. I'm not sure if this is something that's going to be addressed today or in the next meeting. It seems that there's a little bit of dragging of feet. I'm not sure if that is a bureaucracy at work, but just reiterate that recommendation would be extremely helpful and necessary for the city council to hear our demands and not just put us on the back burners. It seems to be the case at the moment. So yeah, thank you for your advocacy so far, and we hope to see this municipal code repealed in full very soon.
Thank you. And I just want to briefly respond to your comment. We will be reporting out tonight on the ad hoc group that was established and in regards to municipal code. Is there anyone else out in the public that would like to speak?
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Julissa, and I'm here also because of the MAC ordinance. It is outdated, dangerous, and discriminatory. As we all have heard already, on June 14th, protesters, primarily people of color, were targeted and arrested for wearing masks. These were community members exercising their constitutional rights. They were not committing violence, they were protecting their health and identity from retaliation, something that every person deserves the right to. These arrests, as we have seen, were an abuse of power committed by the Modesto Police Department, and supported by the institutions. The charges were dropped only because the community organized for justice, but the harm was done. People were intimidated, criminalized, and their trust in institutions shattered if it hadn't already. The mask ordinance has no public safety benefit. It exists as a tool for selective enforcement, and it gives police discretion to criminalize speech and protest as it desires to do so. And that's unacceptable. This board may not have legal authority to do many things, but you do have a voice and can do a recommendation to the council. And that's powerful when you're able to stand clearly for justice. Every day this ordinance remains on the books, and being delayed for another day, people risk arrest for wearing masks in public. We urge you to publicly recommend the full repeal of the mask ordinance at the next meeting, making it clear that this law is incompatible with civil rights and community safety. And if the council ignores you like they've ignored us, let it be on record that this board stood for what's right. Don't wait for more harm to happen before you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Edward Diaz. I'm with CD BIPOC and I was a part of, I'm part of the CD BIPOC and I was part of the organizing committee. I was part of the June 14th protest and I just want to ask you all in the discussion today for the ordinance to recommend to have a discussion to remove the ordinance for Municipal City Council. Once again, that mask ordinance does criminalize Black and brown people, but just wearing masks. Those youth who were arrested and detained illegally, they were wearing masks in order to protect themselves and others from getting sick. They were sick with the flu, and that's why they were wearing masks. And once again, hopefully you guys would appeal the mask ordinance.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to come up and speak?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having this meeting and welcome to the comment. My name is Marjorie Sturdy. I live in Oakdale, but I am president of the Domestic Progressive Democratic Club, and I'm one of the New York members of the No Kings Podcast. I have been doing this a long time, and so I was actually a part of some of the protests that occurred where this mask ordinance was originally put into place. I was part of the group that was intimidated and threatened by Proud Boys who were wearing masks. The reason why this mask ordinance was put in place. At the time, we didn't think anything of it. This was a great idea. This was going to be protecting our safety as non-violent protesters and counter protesters to straight pride. However, obviously, the environment has changed. The climate is different now. We have a very out of control administration. And I believe that there is some of that has been has bled down into our local community and possibly and some of our law enforcement. I believe the ordinance is way too ambiguous and at the very least needs to be rewritten with some more directives. So I do hope that for the safety of everyone, that the ordinance that you do recommend the ordinance is reevaluated for its wording and specificity. Because I think we do have a very serious concern about certain populations, including Black and brown neighbors, that can be very easily targeted. So I do hope that that is the very least what you guys recommend. Thank you very much for your consideration. I appreciate all of the dedication to this board.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else on the public that'd like to come up and speak? Yeah, I know.
Good evening, my name is Thomas, I live in Modesto. I just didn't make it to the last meeting, but I heard certain comments and I heard it about meeting from the police chief. That a lot of his concern was, look at LA, look what's happening in LA. We wanted to prevent what's happening there in order, so they won't be in trouble here. The only thing I'd like to highlight in regards to that is, according to the LA City Controller, about $500 million has been paid out in lawsuits in the last couple of years from LA. And then about half of that is because of police aggression lawsuits. And so I was at both protests and I witnessed police show up in unmarked vehicles. One was a private vehicle, had tags on it. And people were walking down the sidewalk. They weren't doing anything. There was no criminal activity whatsoever. And so to witness unmarked police vehicles immediately pull up, roll out in concert, grab someone, put them in a car, in less than 3 minutes. With, again, no suspicious activity happening. It's just very concerning for this town. There is crime happening, there are problems. But for it to be during a moment when we as a community are showing up in order to express ourselves, which is the First Amendment of the Constitution, which I know all of you know this. For that to be violated for the sake of preventing something that may happen because it has happened in other cities is worrisome, to say the least. I don't know what it exactly accomplishes beyond some type of message to people who are showing up to express themselves about the way in which our federal government is moving. It wasn't even a protest about this town. And so for there to be such a extreme response to something that was not even being addressed to the people who were responding, again, it's worrisome. I don't know what it accomplishes. And for arrests to happen under this case, I'm glad it was dropped. And I know the mask ordinance is the big part of it, but for me, it's the behavior in general that is the greatest concern. And lawsuits that could happen as a result would be also a very, big financial burden on this town, which I don't think we need in these economic times. So morally and economically, I wish that y'all would consider, addressing the situation.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers that would like to come up and speak? Alrighty. Seeing none, we'll be moving on to consent item A. Consider approving the minutes from the Community Police Review Board meeting on July 16th, 2025. Move to approve. We have a motion. We have a second from Austin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those not in favor say no. Okay. Moving on to new business. Item A, a presentation on homelessness and policing by Lieutenant Michael Hammond and Brad Hahn.
Okay. I'm gonna just do my part from up here, if that's okay. I'm just gonna give an introduction and I wanted it to be with the police because they're gonna give you much more detail on what's happening. What the Stanislaus Homeless Alliance was set up about 7 years ago to kind of be the clearinghouse for the county on anything related to homelessness. So we meet much like this on the second Tuesday or second Wednesday here at 5:30 so.
Can't hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. The second Wednesday is when we meet here, and it's an open forum on anything homeless. And we have an agenda just like this. You can get online and actually see these are all recorded just like ours is here. It's made up of the purpose of the Homeless Alliance again is to be that clearinghouse, but it's also got a secondary, which is the membership is made up of a city council member from each city, with the exception there's one from the west side and one from the east side. And some supervisor, somebody from the housing authority, and I'm on there as from Focus on Prevention. And I happen to be the chair of it. And what we're trying to do is figure out how to get some inroads and getting some affordable housing by holding all the cities accountable to that. The way housing happens in Modesto is through the Modesto staff and the building department, all that stuff, and that's true in all of the other cities. And it's been a very good collaborative effort, and that has really proven to be very effective. And so what I've seen happen in the last 6 years is, as the homeless alliance has been put together. One organization that I've got to mention is the CSOC, that's the Community System of Care, which is basically all of the folks that care for homeless people get together. When we first started, there was like maybe 8 or 9 going to that meeting, and now there's over 50 people at that meeting every month talking about how we're gonna work together to help with this homeless issue. And along with that, I watched, even when we were forward together, when we were forming this whole idea of this, I saw a lot of, I remember somebody came up with Cahoots, which is a kind of a group that goes out and meets with homeless people who have clinicians from mental health and all the different types of help for homeless folks. And that's something we have now. That's the chat team. And, also the park rangers is another one that has been instituted just recently by the city of Modesto. They're all under the police department. There's been, when we went through the training for this, we got to do some simulations, and there's a real emphasis in the police department on de-escalation, and a lot of training going on with that, and also addressing the needs of folks who are either having a mental episode or on a substance abuse disorder, meeting them where they are instead of meeting where they are with the right people in play to be able to actually help them. And that's what's happened. That's countywide as well. There's care court that's been instituted. There's a lot of things that have happened in our community regarding homelessness that are very, very positive. And I've watched the MPD be really the forerunners in that, not only just in our county, but in the state. I know that we get calls all the time from other folks, and I was talking to Lieutenant Hammond, and he said, you know, we tell them what we're doing. We're not doing everything perfect, but we're working to try and get there. And I'm very proud as the chairman of the Homeless Alliance to see the progress that's been made. And Lieutenant's going to get up and give he's going to make all my words. All right, I've always wanted to be in the same presentation with this guy.
All right, thank you. Thanks for that, Mr. Hahn. Again, my name is Michael Hammond. I'm a lieutenant with Modesto Police Department. I'm in the Area Command Division. And so today we're talking about policing and homelessness. And so a lot of those units we're talking about alternative response are in the Area Command Division. So thank you.
Ask a quick question, sure, I haven't heard this. Brad, do you know how to be, I see membership on here. Do you how do you become a member of the alliance?
You are a city council member from the city council, supervisor. It's basically made up of electeds.
Oh, so community members wouldn't be able to become a member?
No, well, not the way it's set up.
Okay.
The purpose is to hold the people that make the policy and can be held accountable as part of it. So that you can through the policies of creating housing and dealing with homeless.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Sarah.
All right. So let's get started. We'll put this together. Okay, so this is our current chat team. So right now we have 12 chat members. We have 2 supervisors. Which one is here in the back now? Veda Malone, she's a chat supervisor. So chat right now works 7 days a week. Their hours are from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Hopefully you guys seen some of their big vans driving around that says chat on there and all that stuff. And so we started out with 4 back in 2020 that I sold some people from the county when we were down at Lowe's emergency shelter. So now we're up to 12 thanks to the city council and Chief Gillespie expanding this unit. So we'll go over some stats here in a little bit, but So basically the three functions that chat focuses on, so they ride around, they have the mobile data computers, just like the police officers have in their vehicles. They can look at all the calls for service. And so they try to look at the calls that maybe doesn't need police response, alternative response. So not every call needs a badge and a gun. And so chat's job is to go out, kind of assess the situation as the medical issues, the mental health issue, and how to address that. And so, they'll look at the calls to see if they can handle it, they'll respond. That way a police officer can go do police officer things and not, have to worry about trying to make phone calls and connect with behavioral health and all that stuff. So they do take calls for service, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The second thing they're designed for is if officers are on a quality of life type call where, you know, it's gonna take a little longer and there needs to be transport to a shelter or something like that. Chat, keep them out and take over so the officer can go back in service and handle some of the higher priority calls. So, they're handling calls, they're assisting officers on calls. And the third part is they're being, proactive and looking, for the hotspots. We all know where people hang out at. And so they have a routine where, their self-initiated activities, what we call it, and they go look. And so they're contacting, people, if there's no calls holding, if officers don't need assistance, they're often looking, to see if they can help them. A lot of times, you know, we can take somebody to the shelter or day center, they don't get the help they need, and so they end up going back to where we found them. And so it takes time and time again to make contact, to build that trust. And hopefully one day soon, you know, they get the help that they need. And so we do have some success stories, and I'll talk about a few of those here in a little bit too. But that's basically what chat is designed for, is alternative response. And not every call that we get from the public, it was a police officer call. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here and where we're at. So in 2018, we had the Martin versus Boise decision from the Ninth Circuit. Basically said that enforcement could not be done on illegal camping or quality of life issues in a public place if there was nowhere for them to go. So based on that decision, the city of Modesto, city manager and chief of police, Galen Carroll at the time, designated Beard Brook Park, which is kind of over there off of Morton, across from Gallo, as a designated spot for the homeless people to shelter, so that enforcement could be done in other parts of the city as parks. So that was honestly thrown together pretty quick. And so we were trying to build an infrastructure, trying to build processes to help folks. But Beard Brook was basically just a place designated so we could do enforcement in other parks. That emerged into the Modesto Outdoor Emergency Shelter, or also known as MOES. That was underneath the Knight Street Bridge. We had like 300 tents donated to us. We also partnered with our county partners, BHRS, Telecare, Turning Point, and that's where we really try to build an infrastructure of kind of establish care, connection, and linkage. So either case management that they had or any mental health, kind of centralize the population. We did get some good comments about how good downtown looked because they were centralized at MOES. Gave the community an opportunity to, you know, right now they go to parks and they drop off foods or boxes of food and clothes. This kind of centralized it for them. And there's a lot more community engagement with this population because they knew where to find them. And it also gave behavioral health opportunity to find their clients to start working with them. So after about a year, and during that time, we also created, was a part of creating the community assessment response and engagement, which is known as CARE. And so CARE was basically designed as an outreach and engagement team along with case management to, you know, try to get people whole again. And so that's a countywide program. And so we recognized that we wanted our own outreach engagement. And so that's what, you know, with the approval of city council and the city manager and Chief Gillespie, we created the chat team. And like I said earlier, we started out with 4, now we're 12, or 7 days a week. And so what they don't do is they're not clinicians. They don't do 5150 holds, but we do have access to clinicians through our BHRS partners. And so they're often called in moments of crisis. And so So, and then, in 2024, Martin versus Boise was overturned, basically said that. There could be enforcement done on quality of life issues, legal camping, public property. And then, there was a presidential executive order in July 2025 that just came out. And although there's no requirements or mandates at this time, you know, we continue to, monitor what that looks like coming from the federal government. There's no, there's no mandates that we're supposed to be doing right now. There might be some funding involved with it. I checked with the city attorney to make sure that we're in compliance with the executive order. And I think as a matter of fact, we're probably ahead of it. We're one of the cities that works with the county. And we're proactive in getting people off the streets, getting them out of crisis, getting them into connecting them with programs to get them help. And then with all that the city of Modesto is doing lately with buying hotels and trying to get housing to stabilize folks to get them further help, I think we're really leading the industry in this objective. Okay, so some stats here. So what you're looking at here is generated calls for service that chat respond to. So what that means is the community is calling dispatch saying, hey, I see a problem over here. And then we decide if it needs a badge or not. Chat shows up and handles the call. So what we did here is we did year 2024 versus 2025. Orange is the 2024. I know the key is blocked by the Florida monitor there, but orange is 2024. And so you can see in 2025, there's a big increase in handling calls for service. And that's due to staffing increasing. So the more staffing we have, the more calls that we can handle. And for last year, in 2025, chat handled 3% of all dispatch calls. And that's really good. So they're working 7 days a week. They work 4 days on, 4 days off, a rotating schedule, 11-hour shifts. And patrol is a 24-hour.
What percent was that?
3%. 3% of all calls. And so, yeah, so they're out there hustling every day, and and I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but they have body cams, they have a portable radio, so they can call police if something critical is happening, or they on view a traffic collision, or they see something going on, so they're directly connected to police officers, should they need assistance. Next, please. So this is, dispatch calls, diverted to chat, so in other words, and again, same models, 2024 and 2025 year to date from January this year to July this year. We didn't have all the stats yet. And as you can see, the blue line is probably higher than the orange line, and again, that's due to increased staffing.
Really quick question. Do you think, is this chart that you're showing now, is that including that 3% of the dispatch calls, or is it, could it be a little higher because it's diverted
I'm
calls?
not entirely sure. I have to get back to you on that. But this is just, that was 2024 stats. Now that I think about it. Year to date from January to December. Next. So what you're looking at here is chat services provided, and so we document through Esri every contact we have, and it asks such questions as like, what's your name, your birthday, where you from, you got medical care, how long you been homeless, are you homeless from Modesto, and stuff like that. And so a lot of our information is captured that way, but we also capture services provided. So if you look at the shelter, that's how many people that were sheltered so far from January to July of this year. A lot of those are going to be repeat people. So, we didn't shelter 1,000 people and they got housing. It's recidivism. So far year to date, we've done that number there. And then mental health includes connecting folks to their mental health, maybe case managers or programs or mental health assessments. A lot of time a mental health assessment can help you get score higher to get more housing. And so they're constantly trying to connect and lead people services to help them get off the street and hopefully in lieu of incarcerating them for anything. So all these are meant to help people not go to jail, clog up the criminal justice system. So SUD is substance use disorder, disorder is kind of the same thing. We will take people to get, assessments, to help them get placed for housing. Transportation includes maybe to the day center somewhere at Salvation Army or Gospel Mission, or even Fort Bed. Or maybe like they have a place to stay and they're in town and we'll take them to their family member's house to get them off the streets so they're not to get arrested. We do hand out some food. We're part of a food pantry that donates food. That's more of a like a trust building kind of thing, or like a, you know, hey, if you need some water, so they'll talk to us, give us some food. Sometimes we hand out, I think we just got a donation from United Way for like 750 socks. So sometimes we'll hand out socks and underwear and stuff like that. So food is a big part of engaging with this related. And then medical services, we know there's a medical issue, we can call an ambulance. Sometimes if they don't want an ambulance, we can transport them to the hospital, they can check themselves in. Or a lot of times San Joaquin Valley is always at the Salvation Army, making medical checks there, so we take people there to go check out. Yes.
Just a quick question, looking at all of the different shelter, mental health and everything like that. Is employment a part of that measure too, that you guys look at, like as far as helping somebody in that position, maybe find a job, find some employment, is that also a part of the measure that you guys measure?
It's definitely a tool in the toolbox. I think one of the biggest things we use, and I'll talk about here in a minute with the success story, is a downtown streets team. And I hope everybody knows, I don't want to get into detail, downtown streets team, but they're great. They've been a big help. I support them 100%. They have done a great job. And so, again, with these success stories, I'm gonna talk about how downtown streets team has let one of our homeless members work for actually in the baby. So I'll talk about that. Success story. I only picked two. I'll be honest, we probably don't do a good enough job sharing our success stories, only because once somebody gets housed, we're on to the next one and on the next one. So I'm thankful for the opportunity that I get to share these two. This one's pretty recent. In July 2024, Jack was contacted by the uncle of Stephen regarding his homelessness and lack of support. After meeting Stephen and learning his goals, housing, employment, and reunification with his daughter, Jack connected him to resources, including the Gospel Mission, Garden Gate Respite, Salvation Army, and ACE program. Through ongoing follow-up and referrals to the downtown streets team and other organizations, Stephen secured his own apartment in July this last month. He enrolled in a trade school and continues working towards reunifying with his daughter. He credits Chat and his partner agencies for helping him transition from homelessness. At the age of 15, Robert found himself homeless due to unforeseen circumstances for over 20 years. He faced immense challenges of living on the street and struggled with addiction. During this time, Robert met and fell in love with his partner. Together, they spent countless hours seeking a way out of their situation, not just for themselves, but for each other. They sought resources and support from Chat and other community organizations, which provided them with all the necessities and a sense of stability. Today, Robert and his wife have been sober for over 2 years. Robert started with the downtown streets team, and now Robert works part-time for the Modesto Police Department abatement team. They also advocate for homeless individuals, offering support and a friendly hand up to those in need. He expresses his gratitude to Chat and the Modesto Police Department for their support. And I think what's important about this story is the ripple effect of success. So we got to talk to Robert, we got to stabilize him, stabilize his spouse. I do know that they recently had a kid together. And not only that, but now they're starting to get back to try to help out maybe their friends that they used to hang out with and be a role model. So by helping folks, you never really know what a ripple effect you're going to get of success from that. So just wanted to share that. Next, please. We're going to talk about park rangers real quick. Again, this is another alternative response that was created about 2 years ago. The main function of park rangers is to educate people in the park. It's not directly to deal with homelessness or harass them or anything. It's about general awareness in the parks. And so there's a lot of municipal codes, you know, can't be in possession of a shopping cart, can't have a milk crate, can't smoke in a park. No alcohol in the park unless you have a permit, and so those kind of things. So really, park rangers are designed to keep our parks clean and to have families and children enjoy the park without being scared or nervous. So as we look at the same kind of format, these are community members calling in the dispatch, having concerns or complaints about the parks. And so let me go into a little bit of park rangers. We're slated for 12 positions. I think right now we have 6. And one, we're working to get a supervisor in there. And so they work 7 days a week. Their hours are anywhere from 6 a.m. to midnight. So we have pretty good coverage with park rangers, and they work hand in hand with patrol, they work hand in hand with chat. And then the heart officer here, I'll talk in a moment. And so we're working on, so these are more like college age kids, maybe trying to figure out if they want to do law enforcement or not. So I think that's kind of why we have some turnover, once they get into law enforcement culture. Yeah, I want to be a cop, so it's hard to keep that position. So, and again, so you look at 2024 versus 2025, you know, they're responding to a lot of calls. So self-initiated activity, again, if there's not calls holding for them to respond to, or officers are on something and they can take over. Their job is to go to the parks, mostly our busy ones, and to stay proactive and maintaining a clean park. Some of our major parks, as we all know, are Reseda, Insolent, Gateway, Trip Park. And so they're constantly driving around, being proactive, looking for violations or education moments. But so as you can see, like with 2025, they're going through quite a bit of parks from year to date. It's over 900, some 1,000 a month. I think we only have 76 parks in the city, and so they're constantly just driving through. That's what job proactive and you visit them. We'll talk about HEART, our homeless engagement and response team. I say team, but it's really only one officer. And then there's a sergeant assigned to that. He works Tuesday through Friday, 7 to 5. And he addresses bigotry issues by building partnerships and collaborations between the criminal justice system and social and medical services. The officer is accountable, is the accountability component to alternative response and supports chat and the park rangers when necessary. And we're looking to build that also. Not a part of Area Command, but operations is our mobile crisis emergency response team, also known as MSERT. It's where we have 2 mental health clinicians paired with police officers in a co-response model. So what that looks like is you have an officer, you have a clinician, and they're looking for those maybe higher level calls, something that chat can't handle. But maybe the person's in crisis and being a little more violent, maybe run around with a stick or something that might need a police presence, maybe to calm the situation, to stabilize it, and then the clinician can do an evaluation whether this person needs to be on a 72-hour hold or something. So it's a great program. The clinicians work with officers Monday through Friday. I think it's at 9:30 to 7. All right, that's it. And with that, I'll take some questions.
Just had a question about the MSERT. Just roughly, do we only have 2 clinicians for MSERT, or is that just we only pair 2 with an officer?
We only have 2 assigned to the Madison Police Department.
Oh,
I have a question about hospital emergency room. You have the stats that you can give us on how that's changed since this all started. Anecdotally, I live with close to Doctors Medical Center, and I don't see, can't remember the last time I saw somebody with their, hospital gown on and with their IV walking down. And that, honestly, that happened a lot before, because that was the only place that had to go. And now with these alternate responses and kind of taking people where they are, it's seen that it reduced the number of people going to the emergency room.
Yeah, I think that's something we can we're gonna do a comparison the other year of the fashion, 50 or so.
have something to say. Lieutenant Hammond, number one, I've been monitoring the homeless situation in town for a number of years. And starting from my first interest in it back in like 2016. Your name is held with great admiration. You have done phenomenal work. And every time I find someone, it's just another person that's had an interaction with you and appreciated leadership and your engagement with the homeless. I remember going down to Beard Brook, and I believe that's when I first met you. And it was my impression that there were a lot of calls, a lot of dispatch calls prior to Beard Brook that happened throughout the community, every park, every downtown alley, everywhere. So when I hear that chat only reflects 3% of the calls, can you take me through that? It seemed like there was the homeless situation generated many more calls prior to Beard Brook. They dropped significantly, Beard Brook and Mose. If you can tell me why that 3% doesn't seem like the same number that preceded those two events, and what you think has come in between and kept that number relatively low. I think 3% is fine.
Well, I don't think it's low. When you look at the calls, and I'm gonna use round numbers here, I'm not a numbers guy, so forgive me, but I think the police department averages somewhere around 250,000 calls a year. And so if they're handling, 3% of that, I mean, that's still a lot of calls that they're handling.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's how I look at it. If we didn't have chat, the fire department gets calls, ambulance gets calls, and MDD gets calls. So chat really does a lot to save or help first responders not have to respond to that and link them to where they need to go.
Okay, and so then one of the things that happened with Mose and Beard Brook is the parks themselves, the other 70 parks in their community ended up having far fewer incidents. Now we have rangers, and it appears there's quite a few incidents that they're making contact with people, and we have chat out there. The parks, I mean, it feels like maybe you're saying that the parks are now populated again with issues that they didn't have during Mose and Beard Brook.
Can you say the question again?
That wasn't really a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, you just went through that with me. When we look at the 3% number, I think one thing that's important to keep in mind too is that the types of calls, the types of responses that chat is getting are very time intensive as well. So whereas the past, where you had a call of a person who was unhoused in the park, the response would be saying, hey, you can stay here on. Now they're actually looking for a long-term plan, and that takes a lot of time. So a single chat call may take several hours, but that call also might prevent 5, 10 calls when that's difficult down the road as well, if that makes sense. So I understand, because I agree with you about at face value 2% seems low, but these are very time intensive long, right? So just wanted to.
Thank you.
Lieutenant, I have a couple of questions. You mentioned, if I remember correctly, that the insert books are available from 9:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do they have someone that's on call after that, so that if an officer experiences a problem with someone having a mental health crisis, can he reach out to them, or can dispatch reach out to them and provide him some assistance, he or her some assistance through this program?
Yes, so BHRS has a 24-hour line insert that we can call. They've actually come to the police department to briefings and done training, and so officers know who to call should they need help with assistance.
And how timely is that response?
I don't have that for you.
Okay. And then the other question I have along these lines is, you mentioned briefly that the fire department often responds to calls involving individuals that are experiencing homelessness or are having some sort of medical issue or whatever. Is there I guess the way I would put it is, are they able to communicate with chat Is there a direct link there for?
Yeah, yes,
They can contact Chad and say, hey, we're on this call, we think maybe you folks could give some assistance to this.
yes, absolutely, and that's probably usually through dispatch. However, we're currently working on a grant right now where we have a fire paramedic, EMS person, go with us, and we're sort of trying to figure out logistics of that, but we actually want to incorporate, Modesto Fire with chat. So we're working on that right now.
So it'd be like a community paramedic?
Yes,
All right, thanks.
yep.
And Ted, I think I know the answer to this question, but I think it would be helpful in general, with two MCERs, how are they chosen to be out where in town? We have area commands now, but I believe they float with officers that are more floaty for backup, aren't they?
Yeah, so the officers they're assigned to are assigned to patrol, which is regular patrol officers, but they're considered a citywide car, so they're not just stuck in one beat or one side of town. That way it gives them the availability to respond to calls as needed, or if a hot call right now, and they're dealing with so many crises, they can go from the northeast to the southwest and not affect,
And could you restate one more time, how many rangers are there today? I lost.
I believe there's 7.
So,
And we're looking, we're in the process, we just did interviews and we're going to hire some.
Yes, just wanted to ask this question. How was chat funded?
Through CCP, which is California Corrections. I can't remember exactly, but it's through probation. Basically, there's a big board that monitors the money, and that's how chat.
Okay, is this mostly through a grant? I'm only asking because, I remember when chat kind of first started, I remember when you guys came to talk to my church, you guys only had 4 people, now you guys have 12. And so I just wanted to ask that question because if it's grant funded, is this a possibility that this program can be cut in the future if you guys envision that? I just wanted to kind of ask that question because it is a good program. But however, if it's funded through a grant, administration changes, legislative changes, anything could get this program cut. So I was just asking, is there like a, if it's a grant funded program or if it's something that you guys pay for? Just, that's why I asked that.
Great question. I don't have the answer.
I can actually, remember when they, took a bunch of state prisoners and sent them to the county because of overcrowding?
Yes.
The promise from the governor was, I'm gonna send money to help with that. That's what this is. And they're, in that board,
8109.
yeah, that board, is made up of everybody in law enforcement, VA, and they came up with this budget.
Yeah.
And there's no end to that. There's no sunset on that.
That's exactly why I asked
It's
it.
actually, but the cool thing about it is, it's one of the times that we got a funded grant.
Okay.
And we're doing it, and we're using it really smart, I think, to do that, and it was a county, the money came to the county, it was across jurisdictions too, so everybody, worked together, to come up with the best plan.
Sounds good. And then my last question, do you guys have a per year employment goal that you guys have for chat? Like, how many, like, we want to add 4 more people this year, we want to add 5 more next year.
Well, I think if Chief Gillespie had his way, we would have chat 24 hours a day. But I don't think we're there yet, so, but that's the goal.
Is it that you're not there because of the money?
Yes.
And the MCERT program, there are 2 clinicians. Does that provide enough hours of assistance, or would it be preferable if there were more money that you could hire more clinicians?
Yeah, I definitely think that would be beneficial if we had clinicians available at a moment's notice, 24 hours a day.
I have a question. Thank you, Lieutenant Hammond. How many homeless people do you get calls for, or provide services to that are youth below 21 years of age?
I don't have that stat right now, but I did that too. I would guess it's low.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for you as well. I want to say thank you for those charts. I thought they were great. just for, I guess, data transparency, maybe add in like a case flow snapshot. You know, from the time you guys, let's say, chat gives a notice for homelessness to, you know, offer of let us help you, acceptance of, you know, accept the help that chat is providing to whatever program you guys place them in, and then, you know, possible follow-ups that you guys do with them as you guys create your charts for each person you guys handle cases with.
Yeah, I understand that, and just, it takes a long time to get a success story. It could take anywhere from 1.5 to 3 years, and so it would be, these success stories aren't instantaneous. It takes time for them, and they have to want help, first and foremost.
Right.
They're not always ready for that, but we'll always be there when they're ready for that.
Yeah, and I think it would be great to just show, you know, the community, hey, you know, we reached out to X amount of people, we've offered them this many amount of people help, you know, this many people accepted it, other offers to stand, just to give us some numbers, to provide more of like, this is the work you guys are doing, because we do appreciate it. I had another question about the executive order, you know, that Trump signed this year in regards to like homelessness. And I know that there can be some grant shiftings, when it could, you know, Austin kind of talked about it a little bit, but if there's any talks with the city in regards to like Measure H funding to possibly pick up anything that might be taken away, because I know they're looking at, you know, harm reduction funding and possibly trying to end some of those kind of things that we have in place already. So I don't know if you guys are currently looking at that, seeing where you guys can try to get more funding.
We're waiting for some more direction, to see where we need to go.
Okay. And then I also just wanted to ask about, I know that park rangers and chat, you know, they make contact with people. One of my questions was, do they ever receive like complaints on how they approach people? And what is your guys' process, if not the same as a police officer complaint?
To be honest, I've never had a complaint about a park ranger or a chat.
That's amazing. And I just wanted that to be reiterated out. And then I don't know how the encampment operations kind of work with MPD. I don't know if you give a quick snapshot if there are any encampment operations that you guys do. You know, my job, I work in Stockton is where like my route is at. And sometimes, you know, driving down Hammer Lane, I'll see Stockton patrol officers and fire departments blocking off a lane, and they're literally just clearing encampments and they're throwing their personal items away. You know, to me, I'm kind of like, oh, what are we doing back home in that instance? And so,
Yeah, so I think we're fortunate we've been doing this long enough that we don't have major encampments like that. We'll have one-offs, maybe tent here, tent there. Typically we'll make contact, but no, we can't do that. As a person, we'll give them 72 hours to pick up and clean up. And so usually that's when we'll go back, and if it's abandoned, that's when we're throwing stuff away, or we'll wait for them to pack their stuff up and so usually that's how it goes.
thank you. Is there anyone else from the board that has any questions before I open this up to the public?
I just came down here to clarify a couple of things. So we were talking about MCERT. That's a partnership with BHRS, the Behavioral Health Services, and the Madison Police Department. On our part, we're a 24/7 organization. So if they have more clinicians being concerned, they welcome them. I hear that it's difficult to hire and retain clinicians in this county. And so that's why there's only 2 at one given time. But if there was opportunity for more, we would certainly allow them to write the officer to do that. And then as far as chat funding, it's a tremendous program. It's been a model now for other agencies and regions. And so we are fully committed to keeping chat regardless of where the funding sources come. And if that means we have to at some point take you know, general fund money to supplement chat, we're definitely in a position to do that.
I have a response. With the MCERT program, the clinicians come experienced and have the knowledge already, correct or no?
Yes, there are trained clinicians through the county.
There's a reason why I asked. So the reason why I asked is because I'm the medical research coordinator for the county, it's a volunteer program. And so we have plenty of people that work with mental health and et cetera. So I was just asking that question because if MCERT you know, people came over and you guys provided some type of training, that would open up the door for medical reserve for volunteers, so then you guys don't have to pay for extra clinicians or anything of that nature. You guys can utilize what we have in the county currently already. And that's why I asked that.
Yeah, we can funnel them to HRS, which kind of sets the guidelines. I wouldn't see a problem with the volunteers too, well.
That's why I asked.
All right. Thank you. We will be opening this up to the public, so I'm going to ask any members of the public to please come forward if you have any questions regarding this presentation. If there are any members, please step forward.
Good afternoon. Not a question, but more of a comment. I just want to say that training the police to learn how to de-escalate situations is not the correct way to support the homeless community in Modesto. We need to redefine the way public safety looks like in Modesto. The police do not solve or prevent crime or even help the homeless. They often escalate situations where the homeless are experiencing moments of mental distress. What we need is to redirect those funds from the already completed MPD budget to social services that address the root cause of homelessness, such as affordable housing, mental health support, and substance abuse treatment. We do not need 6 or even 12 park rangers that create a pipeline to state thugs that think it's okay to point 12-gauge shotguns to unarmed youth. Nor do we need a homeless engagement and response team that sucks even more money out of our city budget. We are not able to address the real issues of homelessness because our money is being redirected to more police positions. As CVA BIPOC, we have fed, given clothes, and given Narcan to hundreds of homeless individuals without cooperation of MPD. We do not wait when people are ready. We give them whatever they need in that moment. If there are any people here who are wanting to support the homeless community without working with the police, then you can join our mutual aid committee. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, my name's Leah, and thanks for the presentation, it's really informational. And I was just wanting to say that I don't think the issue of homelessness exists in a vacuum, and I'm sure we all know that. What I mean is that I'm thinking about, you know, as things change in terms of affordability, like housing specifically, but also just inflation, food prices are up, all sorts of prices are up. Things are being reduced because of executive orders in terms of support services and all sorts of services for all humans in the US. I'm just thinking about like, and my question, I guess, is what does CHAT and other organizations that it is networking with anticipate when, you know, when people do get on their feet and they're looking for housing or they're looking for jobs or they're looking for an affordable lifestyle off of the streets. I'm just wondering, you know, I guess what the CHAT people think about that or what they're, yeah, that just seems like a problem. That just like seems like a big question that's looming above all of these actions that are already being taken for homeless people. Is my question clear at all?
So Chad is designed as the first touch or point of contact with these folks. So what we do is once we get them to say yes or they're ready for help, we link them to our partners at the city and county like EHRS, Telecare, Turning Point, and we do what we call a warm handoff to that organization. They have case managers that are then designed to help that person get shelter, housing, medical assistance, financial assistance. And so once we do that handoff, we don't track exactly where they're going unless they end up coming back to the streets, and then we start the process over again. I often tell my chat team, if people fall down 7 times, we'll be there 8 times to pick them up. And so that's how that works. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Steve, next.
I can think of a handful of situations involving mental health crises and Modesto Police Department's involvement that didn't go well. When they murdered Paul Muncie Jr. for no reason, they weren't like, oh, let me help you back up, right? What this is, see, if you guys watch a TV show that's a long-standing show, right? Like you've watched however many years of Frasier, however many years of Seinfeld or whatever, right? You're more apt to get the jokes, right? Or you're more apt to understand the nuances. Well, I've been watching this whole story since MPD murdered Trevor Seaver and several others. But at that time, it was Trevor. This is all law enforcement's way of just subsuming like the providing for people's real needs. Okay, so I see through all that. I think it's kind of obvious. Basically, what I'm saying is that the cops want control of everything that the cops can have their hands on. So I can't control that because, you know, obviously I don't have a say, I don't have power. But anytime we can keep violent killers away from people in need, I'm for that. I think chat is flawed. And one way, just to make sure I was clear in what I just said, it's a commercial for the cops. Okay, I'm not saying that's 100% all they do. In fact, I'm sure that the individuals that work out there on the streets have excellent intentions and really do care. Okay, but let's not pretend like these things occur in a vacuum. Okay, I witnessed a disgusting event at the transit center recently. And mind you, this was the sheriff's deputy, right? Not one of our local killers, but there was this mentally a man showing pretty clear signs of having serious mental illness. Was like basically having a verbal argument with the clouds because I saw him like flipping off. I was like, oh, okay, there's nothing there. So I'm like, okay, this guy's experiencing some problems. A deputy came up to him, there was a verbal exchange, everything was fine. He either ordered the guy to leave or allowed the guy to leave because he was turning around to walk away. And I was watching the whole thing and the deputy just stood there and everything was fine and very casual. And then there was one last little verbal exchange, like the guy looked back. And you could tell he was bothered. And the deputy was kind of instigating a little bit. It wasn't the worst thing I've seen. But then all of a sudden, his demeanor changed, the deputies, and he got very angry and then ran after the guy and arrested him. So what I'm wondering is like, how many of those, and then a few days after that, I'm taking the bus and I saw MPD rolled up on some person that, like from outward appearances, didn't look like they had done laundry that week and had him sitting on the curb. And I just want to say, like, we need to expand chat in the sense of like how many like chat cops we allow to be out there. And this should not be allowed to just be a low-cost commercial. So what unfolds in the next coming years, I just hope that we'll keep an eye on that. And if I have to give like partial, approval, personal approval to something that might keep these violent killers away from people in need. But let's not lie to ourselves. If you go outside and go around town, you still see it all the time, And so I think that the emphasis really needs to be on keeping people who like taste blood and are like the way I've seen some of these guys look at me personally. What if I had a bad day? I promise you, there'd be like a dozen cops just like, no, I want to kill him. I want to kill him. That's how they talk. I've seen plenty of cases. We need to increase chat and stop giving the cops praise for doing like the simplest things. This is all just, we're broadly talking about providing for people's needs. And I'm not impressed because we kill a little bit less.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else out in the public that would like to speak?
Good evening. I have a clarifying question regarding the presentation. There was discussion about how in 2018 under Martin versus Boise, there wasn't criminalization of people when they didn't have a house. It wasn't a crime to be unhoused. Now it seems like the tables have turned, and in 2024, that specific case was overturned. And then with Trump and the new presidential order, sounds like there's more enforcement able to be taken against people for simply not having shelter. So my question is, what is the city currently doing in terms of enforcement measures for people who are unhoused? Is it just the 72 hours, then we take your tent and your stuff is thrown out? Or what else is happening? Like, how are these new powers to then implement this criminalization of being unhoused taken into effect in this county, in the city?
Thank you.
So, yes, that's one of the ways that we deal with it. You know, we do recognize that homelessness itself is not a crime, but there's crimes associated with homelessness. And so sometimes we have to hold them accountable. And that's what we hear from our community when we do our community forums is they want accountability. And so we offer them help and assistance first. That's the first thing we offer. However, if they continue to, break the law or be part of the problem or not part of the solution, then we do hold them accountable.
Good question. When do you guys hold the community meetings?
Right now, we've had 3 so far. We call them community forums. We've had one over at King Kennedy Center. We had one, I can't think of the other one. We just had one at Best Shalom. So we do once a quarter. We promote that as a department. So we put that on and everybody's invited to come.
Yeah, I recognize that because I felt like you guys kind of started that last year around August time. So just wanted to kind of just know when the next one is, so community members that attend this week.
So the last one for Q4, I don't think it's booked yet, but it's probably gonna be in October. We're just looking for a location. And it'll be in the northwest part of town. So we'll put that out when we have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak on this agenda item?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple things about chat and CERT. I've been in conversation as the president of Municipal Progressives with Brandon Chief Gillespie for years about all of these programs, keeping up, like Frank said earlier, that, been advocating for more programs, more clinicians, more involvement, more trainings, particularly cultural awareness trainings. And if there's anything that you guys can recommend in regard to these programs, as a clinician myself, I would like to recommend that at some point in time to increase the clinician participation, as we've been talking about, is to put more money into clinicians. 100%. The pay for clinicians in our county is abysmal. And they're highly educated individuals who are very professional and know what they're doing. I have every faith in their abilities, and I think it's extremely important that we pay them adequately to do a very difficult job, especially if we're going to start asking them to work overnight, which, as most of us know, a lot of mental health crises happen at night, mostly in full moon. So that is, I think, something that if you guys have any recommendations, that be a very serious recommendation you take in helping grow these programs. It's just like was said before, even getting a BHRS clinician is hard because they are always short-staffed. Why? Because they don't have the money to pay them adequately. Benefits are great, but pay is awful for someone who has that much education. Yes.
Thank you.
Then I address that a little more.
We'll bring it back to the board here after.
I just want to add a little more to that last question that was asked, in regards to the Martin versus Williams overturn, being overturned. If you look at our presentation today, it's hasn't changed at all for the past few years, because we've come up with a plan that has been tested by time, and it's been working for us. I don't know what other regions or jurisdictions have done because of the overturn, but we do the same. We approach with services and education and trying to connect people, and at some point we do understand there's like accountability piece, and that's the only time we act, but we haven't changed our procedures or practices because of this overturned Rosie versus Martin case. It hasn't changed our practices.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a local community person. I work with other people in collaboration with doing mutual aid efforts in our community. Mutual aid was based out of like natural disasters, earthquakes and things like that, where the community comes together naturally and takes responsibility, anything from Katrina to earthquakes. And we function very well as a little horizontal group of people, that care about our citizens, and 9 times out of 10, when we come across people that are homeless and whatnot, they're in distress because they've been displaced. As Newsom has popped up again, the displacement of people, just like the officer said over here, or the gentleman over here said, they have 72 hours and they need to get out. They're doing a really good job of keeping them moving around. And like, there is no encampments because that's what they're doing. And so that's problematic when I work with a harm reduction group every Friday at a church. And I work with the most at-risk people, that from even a gunshot wound to because they don't want to go to the ER, or because they get treated like trash when they're there, if they're a drug user or whatnot. So I guess I don't really have a solution to all this. We're gonna kind of keep doing what we're doing, but the atmosphere in the country and the climate right now is horrendous. We are all feeling it. We all feel this. And we're here, we want to try and do something, but we feel like the bureaucracy just kind of moves everybody around. And the homelessness is just, there's no end in sight. It doesn't seem like anything is like end in sight. And I think what we're doing is the solution. Well, it's harm reduction, so it's reducing, it's not harm, what's the word? Elimination. It's not harm elimination, I wish it was. But, until we come with something like what the gentleman back here said, Efren, about just basically, more, funding and more housing and things like that, where, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. I wish there was just more I could say. We're voiceless in a sense, so we're just trying to do our best what we can.
Thank you. One sec, so it's a public comments. Yeah, we'll bring it back to the board.
Good evening, board, chair. I'm Teresa Gamboa. I chair Woodland West Community in Northwest Modesto. And I have lived in Modesto for 34 years. And all the time that I've lived in Modesto, there have been homeless people. And there have been problems with homeless people. I noticed things turning around under the leadership of Galen Carroll, Brendan Gillespie, and especially with the leadership of Lieutenant Michael Hammond. And I first met him when he was an officer on patrol, and he would help people. And I remember one time as a community leader, I try to know who the homeless people are in my neighborhood. I engage with them. I carry a little ice chest in my car. It has water, it has juice. Sometimes I have Snap, because you can save a life with a bottle of water or a bottle of juice. And I learned that a long, long time ago. And so my relationship with Michael Hammond has taught me that he is a direct access to some of these people to get off the streets. He's developed the chat, the heart, the care, and the other programs with Brad that are helping to lift people up. And I can tell you that in my neighborhood, it's making a difference, because some of the homeless people that I know that used to be on drugs, used to be stealing, used to be panhandling, are now saying, I want to get on that list to get housing. I want to be part of the Downtown Streets team. I want to get on the list to be at Jenny's place. And Lieutenant Hammond is a direct link in with chat. And I remember a couple, a young married couple, 10, 15 years ago, stopped me. Did I know Sergeant Hammond? Well, yes. Well, can we have his phone number? No, but I can give him yours. He contacted these people. The next time I saw them, they couldn't wait to track me down and say that Lieutenant Hammond helped them get housing. So we are making a difference. It's working. What we're doing is working. And I would like to encourage people to go to the community forum meetings and listen to what people in those communities are saying about this same issue.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the public that'd like to come up and speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will be bringing it back to the board. Brad, I know you had, okay, and Wendy?
Patty, this question is for you. Is it possible to get it easy to read, copy of the city budget as well as the police budget so that we can see exactly how the funds are being spent?
Yeah, we can follow up with staff on that. I don't know how easy it could be to read sometimes, as you can imagine, it's a pretty detailed and a very comprehensive budget. However, I think that there's an opportunity here for us to do some sort of presentation on that, maybe as a potential future topic. If the board thinks that would be appropriate.
I'd like to see it. Even if it's just one board member, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, we'll follow up and we'll make sure that we connect with you also offline.
Do you have any other questions from the board member? I did have a follow-up. I was curious on, I know we had a speaker that talked about the list of people that want to get on the list to wait for help. Off the top of your head, do you know like how long that waiting list is? How many people are looking to get help for your guys' programs? Any kind of information like that?
I'm definitely not an expert on the process, but I know between some of the mental health assessments and substance use disorder assessments, people get ranked in a coordinated entry system. And so when you get in on that coordinated entry system, which is a meeting, I believe it is run by BHRS or somebody affiliated with them, they're supposed to be next on the list for housing. As far as what does that waiting list look like, I don't know if it's 6 months or more. I'm not really familiar with the process. That's about all I know.
Okay. And then is BHRS, are they just county or do they have like a affiliated like contract with the city to where maybe they might have more information for us?
So BHRS is the whole county, but then they have people that they oversee like telecare, Turning Point, and some of those other things.
Okay, so then they might be able to provide us with more information on the homelessness.
Yeah, as they track through the system, yes.
Okay.
So in listening to Lieutenant Hammond's presentation tonight, it's important to recognize that the police are asked to fix this often, and there's a lot of ailments that come with them housed. There's not one answer, and they all take time, all of them. So when you ask about the list for housing, it's important to know that housing units are being opened up to support this, and it's not just through one program. Hannah's House Open, Jenny's House Open, the Gardens just opened at Gospel Mission. They're all entities coming together to be a part of the solution. So this is one of the big valuable ones because they encounter this first very often. I've seen chat in action. Some take a lot of time. I've seen them for hours at times in my part. So it's just it's a piece of the puzzle, but it all makes a difference, but it all takes time.
Thank you for that clarification.
And if I can, actually, since I'm here, I sort of brought on you, I haven't known Lieutenant Hammond personally very long, but I also sit on the Boys and Girls Club of Stanislaus County Board. And he recently joined that out of interest to do more to capture the gap of youth that sometimes are impacted by this. And the club's focus is serving the West Side and out by Aspire. So he's eager to plug in there, help make a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to double check with everyone if there's any other further comments regarding this item.
I just wanted to comment that the Stanislaus Homeless Alliance and the system of care are working on a report to the community. Probably it's going to be first of next year before we do that, but so a lot of people say we spend millions and millions of dollars on directed towards homelessness, but what are the results? And that's what this is about, is to try and give us, you know, this a part of it, with other parts of it. Hopefully, we can, well, I know we're gonna be able to show that we're doing a really good job.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you all for your public comments. Oh, awesome.
Just real quick, can you just make sure when you guys have the quarterly meeting that you guys put a flyer in front of, you know, where the agenda goes? Just so people from this meeting have an understanding of where that meeting's gonna be. Not everyone checks online and social media, so some of these people come here, maybe they want to attend the meeting, so just wanted to kind of keep that open and just ask if that's possible.
Thank you. All right, we'll be moving on to item B. Consider approval of the CPRB annual report, January 2024 through December 2024 recommendations. In the last meeting, we went over the recommendations, and we got a lot of feedback regarding those recommendations. So tonight will be an update on the changes that we made and what we want to bring forward to the board tonight for possible approval of these recommendations, so we can input it into the annual report, and then we can also get that up to be presented to the city council. Nancy, by chance, did you want to read a few of these and I read a few of these, or do you want me to read them? Okay, I can start off. So, you know, number one, as you guys see up there, last month, it read, provide monthly updates on critical incidents on which the board is briefed and on cases of particular interest to the community. Example, the Long T arbitration. Such updates could be brief and include basic non-confidential information as to the status of such cases. We have updated it, and the new one reads monthly critical incident updates. Provide a brief public update each month on every critical incident the CPRB is monitoring. Example, the Long T arbitration, and on any other case the chief deems as high community interest, with the goal of keeping the board informed during review process for key events that can extend for several months. Updates may be short and must exclude confidential details, but should provide available information about key milestones during the lengthy investigations and reviews. Do you have any comments on this particular recommendation? Anyone on the board? And we will review all of these recommendations and then we'll open it up to the public for any questions. Okay, I'll be moving on to number two. Number two is publish racial, ethnic, and geographical data on traffic stops and geographical data on the use of force incidents and arrests in a manner that is accessible to the public. The new recommendation reads public data and RIPA insights. Publish racial, ethnic, and geographical level data for traffic stops and geographic data for arrest and use of force incidences in a manner accessible to the public while continuing to seek insights about enforcement practices from RIPA stop data it collects under state law. Number three, evaluate the cost and benefit of pretext stops. In this regard, we join with the recommendation of OIR. The new recommendation reads pretext stops, cost benefit study. Continue to evaluate the benefits and potential disadvantages of pretext stops with regards to public safety and community trust, in alignment with recent OIR group IPA recommendations, and present findings to the CPRB at a future meeting.
The fourth revised recommendations, there was a lot of discussion, if you remember, at the last meeting, and so this has just been, it was changed somewhat and restated a little differently.
Now, the recommendation is to strive to interview officers who are involved in a deadly force incident as soon as possible and preferably within 24 to 48 hours to promote investigative integrity and public confidence in the process. Number 5, our previous recommendation read commit to specific timelines and measurable SMART goals for implementing. For implementing department policy changes and training enhancements. That's now been separated into two different statements. Policy.
I do apologize. Let me just make a quick correction here. So, she just read number 5, but number 5 actually reflects the number 7 on the new recommendation. And so the one she's reading for 5A and 5B is number 6, which let me just read it for you real quick. Provide de-escalation, body camera and communication expectations and the police department policy manual in a way that promotes clear enforceable standards. Go on to 5A as a new recommendation. So I just read number 6 under the July meetings.
That's all.
Yeah. So number 5 is actually now number 7. So I apologize for the mistake. And number 6 is number 5. And then 7 is number 6. So I apologize for that confusion. Okay.
Okay, so Nico just read the previous recommendation 7. It's now broken into 5A and 5B, which indicates that I think that's what. Is that correct, Nico?
Yeah, it's
Nico, I'm gonna let you.
So we're currently on the new recommendation number 5 and its new wording, which up there you'll see it's under number 6 for the July recommendations. Okay, so 5A reads policy manual clarity on de-escalation and body cams. Integrate de-escalation techniques and mandatory body cam activation rules into the policy manual using clear shall language that can be trained and enforced. And 5B is now plain language public communication. Adopt a public facing communication standard that looks for ways to ensure clarity and understanding with particular attention to the language that explains use of force concepts and enforcement priorities when applicable.
Say those two are in response to last month's.
Yes. Again, sorry for the confusion. On to number 6, which is last month's number 7. Structured community and CPRB input on policy change. Engage the CPRB and at least 2 community-based organizations when developing policy changes, especially those related to use of force, and keep the board informed of policy updates in a clear and timely manner. And then number 7, which was number 5, the SMART goals, is now number 7 because it kind of coincides with all of the previous recommendations, as in creating SMART implementation schedules for recommendation-driven or high-impact policies. When a policy or training change stems from an independent police auditor findings, a CPRB recommendation, or otherwise has a direct impact on public transparency or civil rights, for example, use of force, body cam activation, stop data reporting, MPD should publish a SMART implementation schedule, a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, showing target dates for drafting approval training and compliance audit. By limiting SMART timelines to recommendations-driven and high-impact policies, the board and the community can track progress where it matters most without burdening routine administrative updates. So those are the new That's the new language for the 7 recommendations. So if there's any questions among the board, we can ask them now. Yes. Okay, so we can come back to the board. I will open it up to the public for any public comments regarding these recommendations.
Let's talk briefly about, if we discuss electricity myself about the complaint issue.
Oh.
And then I'd just like to call the board's attention to the one substantive change in the body of the report. Which you're gonna get, when,
Yeah, just you gotta move a little closer.
you're gonna get the whole revised packet.
Prior to.
Well before, I hope, the next meeting, so that you can review it all then. But the real difference are the rewriting, although not substantially, really changing those recommendations, except to the extent that we discussed last time. And then there was one change that we made to, page 6, which I don't know that anybody's got that in front of them, but there was a suggestion from, board member Brian that we make a note in the board report, and so there's just 2 sentences. I just want to call this one substantive thing, apart from the recommendations to your attention. The CPRB functions as an advisory board and a liaison between the MPD and the community. CPRB does not have the authority or power to investigate citizen complaints or to compel either the Modesto Police Department or the city of Modesto to take any particular action.
So that was just something that we wanted to reiterate, that's in our bylaws to add into our annual report. Okay. And then also in our bylaws, we also are an able body to receive complaints from the community. And so what we didn't initially input into our annual report is the complaints we have received as a board. And so we're gonna add in just a small section of the amount of complaints we received, which to date is 0. But we are able body to receive complaints. And so we just wanna reiterate that and call that out within our annual report. So then, just real quick, is there any questions regarding these recommendations before I open it up to the public?
I think what's said is fine, but I think we need to do a training on how. Somebody can talk to the letter to the board. And we give to police to work on the.
Yeah, it'll go from the complainant to a board member, which will then need to turn into the city manager.
Yeah, just push that for.
Yeah, that's all.
Is it okay if, like honestly, I just wanna pick up on what you said. It would just be good if we get briefed on that. Like we just have we can run our special meetings, right? Like we understand. I agree.
I think that is coming up in the future and we'll get topic.
Love to be different.
Wendy?
So if someone turns in a complaint, a written complaint, they get the complaint from the police department first. And we never see it, it goes straight to the city manager.
Well,
What they're talking about is citizens have the opportunity to reach out to you if they know you and share. And it's what you are to do with that, I think it was talked about.
So if that happens, then I'm supposed to contact.
we will turn around. Well, we're gonna be trained on the exact process, but it is to go from us to the city manager.
Like you give them, we'll be.
Yeah, somebody, can you turn my mics on? Thank you. I think also along those same lines, if we're going to adopt a practice to receive complaints from a member of the community, I think we should standardize that So maybe we have a form that's available to all of us that we can fill out, so that we make sure we check all the boxes for the information that's necessary to forward a complaint to the proper, whether it's city manager, police chief, whoever it has to be.
Okay.
I agree with that, because sometimes word of mouth, things get twisted. And so this should be in writing, I think.
Yeah, we'll wait for the training to include it into possibly now, we already have. All right, so I'm gonna turn this over now to the public. Are there any public comments regarding the recommendations listed above? And if you can step forward.
If you study, like pretty much every single case of police violence, police misconduct, where someone's life is taken under questionable circumstances. Every case that the information is available, and there's always some, it's not obviously. One thing we see throughout every situation is the use of narrative control tactics. We see it everywhere, every single department. If you follow it in the news, you're gonna see a little glimpse of it. If you live your life in a town with a problem with police terror, you're gonna see it. If you go to these meetings over and over again for a while, you see it. I've seen it. Okay. The sooner a cop takes a life, has to give an account for why he took a life, the better. And one thing I wouldn't mind having addressed is I don't know if I have it all straight, but I do remember at one point in this drawn out like lane commercial for Brandon Gillespie, he was talking about cases where like they'd interview the officer in a certain time window, but that meeting cannot be used in court. So if I have that reviewed, and then also, how does that pertain to, like, how do those jive together? If we want to balance between accountability and supposedly Brandon claims that there are reasons why these officers shouldn't be questioned right away, how to resolve that? So that we're essentially not just helping a corrupt department, like get even better at coming up with bullshit stories after they take one of our community members' lives and do illegal random shit, right? Illegal entry in people's homes and harassment and all kinds of shit. Pretext stops. You guys, just even hearing that disgust is disgusting. Disgust is disgusting, if I enunciate clearly. There's absolutely no excuse for any law enforcement agency to be conducting themselves on a pretext. And if that's not really what it is, if it's not a pretext, someone should come up with a better word. Why are we even entertaining that? And then lastly, I would love if this committee could look at ways to advocate for community members. So I don't want to see you guys trying to weed out the complaints that they don't want to hear, because cops are already doing it. I've made complaints to Minnesota Police Department and to the county sheriff, and they go out of their way to keep you from, like, they gave me 5 conflicting answers recently when I tried to report a complaint about this deputy. So what we need is not you guys helping show, like, basically doing a support role for MPD. We need you, like, go with community members, hold their hand. Be willing to go down there. It's scary. I was treated like shit by every individual I talked to. And I know you guys are like formulating these judgments. Yeah, I'm a sassy guy and I don't mind speaking my mind, but I don't go in there like shooting off from the start. I asked them over and over again, what do I do to file a complaint? And I was literally given 5 different answers. And I have experienced the same thing, although to be honest, not as bad with MPD. That was the sheriff. But you guys need to be looking at ways, creative ways to say, I'm a community member that sits on a committee. How can I help other community members feel safe if they need to complain about the cops? And just to remember that you can perform that as an advocacy role. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the recommendations?
Hello again, board. I just wanted to ask, is this, available, the recommendations, are they available online?
No, because this is just a draft, so until we bring it back to the board for final approval, then that will be.
Okay, perfect, yeah, just because verbally sometimes I don't retain everything, so it's nice to be able to read it all. And I think this has been brought up before, and I know you reiterated that, you don't have, power to commit your own independent investigations and to like be able to actually, hold them accountable. You can just, the MPD, I should say that, you can just make the recommendations. That's something that I would like to continue to advocate for is, for the CPRB to, actually have a little bit more teeth, and have the power to, have, independent investigations of the MPD, because you can make recommendations, as many as you'd like, but if the, MPD is not willing to, actually follow through the, recommendations, then that is a problem. And the advocacy of your committee and listening to the community members then doesn't go anywhere. There's no material realization of the recommendations. So I'll just continue to advocate for a better ways to hold MPD I guess accountable for their actions. As we've seen, there's been a lot of instances of violence from MPD against community members. People have lost their lives at the hands of members of the MPD. So we just, for the sake of our community, we want to ensure that MPD is being held accountable for those actions, so that we don't have to lose any other innocent lives because of poor discretion from our MPD. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to be bringing it back to the board. Are there any further comments? Anyone on the board?
I think they're good.
Okay, I think we'll be looking for a motion to approve this. You want me to read all the numbers? What do you have? It was beautiful. So, it just, I think. Well, I can't make a motion. Can I ask for a motion for approval of the recommendations? We have a first, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those in, not in favor say no.
No.
Okay. You want to do a roll call?
Sure. Member Beasley Day. Member Bryant,
No.
Member Byrd,
Yes.
Member Christensen,
Yes.
Member Demrell,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Smith.
Yeah.
Member Han,
Yes.
Chairman Solorio.
Yes.
And I believe that means the motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 5, staff comments and reports. We have an update from the independent police auditor, Stephen.
Good evening, Chair Solorio and members of the board. Stephen Conley of OIR Group and the Independent Police Auditor's Office. This is actually just my kind of regular monthly position on the agenda. I don't have a detailed special presentation for you tonight. But I did want to mention a couple things. I actually happen to be in town in person today. It's obviously a different experience to participate in one of them as a person and all the city's great about accommodating us with the remote access. It's good to be here. I also came into town, because I had the opportunity to attend a meeting at, NPD earlier this afternoon. As I know you're all aware, earlier this month, on August 8th, there was, an officer involved, a non-fatal officer involved shooting that occurred. And when that happens, as folks have become pretty well versed at this point, there are a lot of different processes that are initiated. Some of those, as one of your recommendations really tracked tonight, some of those really can take several months to be completed. The criminal investigation into the incident, the formal administrative investigation into the incident. But the department has initiated a new protocol within the last couple of years in which it brings people together, and obviously within a couple of weeks of the incident itself, subject matter experts within the agency and just kind of does a detailed assessment of the whole thing from beginning to end and looking for learning opportunities or doing some issue spotting for things that they want to make sure get followed up on in a strict investigation. As part of the protocol that the city created for the Independent Police Auditor's Office, I have the opportunity to attend those meetings and participate in them. And so I was notified of the shooting at 3 o'clock in the morning when it happened, and as soon as this was scheduled, they let me know when it was gonna that it was gonna occur. And so I came up and had the opportunity to sit in on it, just as I did in last year's report, talking about a couple of the completed cases and provide some more details about the major incident review process regarding those incidents. I will certainly be tracking this one as well. And I am in between phases of the IPA audit cycle. But within a couple months, I'll start talking to the department again about the next selection of cases for the next audit process. And obviously, in the meantime, I have been paying close attention to things that are going on in the city and the work of your board. Congratulations on getting your report so close to the finish line. I know a lot of work has gone on behind the scenes to get that ready. So thank you. And certainly, if you have any questions on that, go ahead.
Thank you. Any board members?
Steve, how are the cases selected that you choose to investigate?
So in terms of the initial agreement with the city, when this Independent Police Auditor's Office was established, they actually set some numbers. All investigations of this type, all investigations of this type. For example, any case alleging racial bias, any complaint case involving bias is automatically going to be reviewed as part of the process. And then for all the other cases, it's a percentage of them. And I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but it's a percentage of use of force cases and a percentage of complaint investigations. And so what I will do is just kind of randomly select those just based on the case list, and then the department produces whichever ones I ask for and we go.
So if the board wanted to request you to look at a particular case, is that out of bounds?
That would be, that's a great question. It's something that we could talk about with the city for sure, but it isn't part of the initial setup.
Yeah, if I can just add.
This is on, okay, thank you. If I can just add, I believe it's one, in addition to the bias cases, like you said, and the officer involved shooting cases, it's, I believe, 1/4 of use of force cases among the complaints, if I remember correctly. And what happens is each of those are numbered already. So Mr. Connolly gives us a random list of numbers of those that are left over that actually get a system. And also, yes, I don't know if you mentioned that, but also providing
Yes, any case involving a supervisor is the subject of the allegation, because obviously there's some special issue related to that.
So my question is, if there's a particular case that we would like to know about, do we have the privilege or whatever to request the certain cases be looked at?
So you're really talking about a couple different things. One is could a particular case that you were interested in become part of that random sampling or that the chosen sampling? And that's a question that I will follow up with the city about. As I said, it is not a part of the initial scope of work and framework of it. The second thing that you're asking is if you have a specific incident that you want to have more information about. In terms of talking about specific cases, individual cases, that there would be limitations on the confidential details that could be shared with that. The point of the audit is really process driven to talk about which is one of the reasons why we don't review every single case. It's really about trying to get a representative sample size and be able to weigh in on the legitimacy of the department's process.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, on to staff comments and reports. Scott.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to make a brief report that board members Grant and board member Smith have been registered for the NAPO conference, so we appreciate you both going, and we're all registered, ready to go.
Awesome, thank you guys. You guys are gonna enjoy it. It's a great time. Be ready to take a lot of notes.
Take some warm clothes.
Definitely, definitely. No, I'm in the office is a hot spot right now.
Thank you, Scotty. All right, so we'll be moving on to board comments and reports. Item A, policy goal number 8. Review use of force policy to minimize likelihood of death resulting from use of force. We have an update.
No, nothing to report.
Thank you. Policy goal number 1, improve relations between the community and the department.
One of my committee members has been working on the annual report, so I'm just been waiting for it to get completed and we will schedule as soon as it's done.
Thank you. Policy goal number 3, reduce youth arrests, particularly among Latino youth. An update on that, recently went to a Latino Leadership Initiative graduation, and there was some presentations there where actually 2 presenters were looking in on like a mentorship program specifically towards like the youth and kind of like gang related. They're kind of getting into that because of the area they're into, and this gentleman wanted to and is currently still working with mentoring the youth in that area. So I'm going to be meeting with him to see how we can try to help him with that, what we can do to further his goals with that process. And there was another gentleman, he actually works for PAL, but he is looking to expand their program. So maybe if there's a way for us to connect with him on working specifically in Modesto with the youth there. So those are 2 things that I'll be working on for that policy goal. And then part D, ad hoc ordinance 4-23.02 committee update. Latricia.
Me. Over the past several weeks, our committee has met consistently to conduct a detailed review of the Modesto Municipal Code 4-23.02 with a specific focus on subdivision section 13. As part of this review, we have carefully examined the ACLU and First Amendment Coalition letters dated July 18th and July 21st of 2025 to better understand the constitutional and civil rights concerns that were raised. To build community trust and strengthen community relations, we are developing a robust engagement strategy to ensure residents have the opportunity to provide input that will directly inform our research and recommendations. One component of this strategy is a community engagement survey in both English and Spanish. We will be reaching out to other jurisdictions that have adopted similar ordinances. Our goal is to learn how their provisions are interpreted and enforced and what lessons we can learn. We will continue to meet gather information, and engage stakeholders over the coming weeks as we anticipate drafting our reports. And we do look forward to sharing our findings and recommendations with the board and the community in the near future. Near-term deliverables, a draft, we're drafting a draft, a special recommendation towards the city manager regarding options for repeal or substantial amendments of the Modesto ordinance 4-23.02. To have a concise finding memo summarizing what we have heard from stakeholders in other cities. A proposed timeline for city manager review and public discussion. That's our report.
Thank you, Latricia. And are there any other board comments and reports at this time? Any board member may make a brief announcement or report briefly on his or her activities. Seeing none, we'll move on to the future agenda items. For next month, we will be having the final presentation for the CPRB annual report. And we'll have that up for discussion for any last minute changes, anything like that. And then I know we also are looking at possibly adding another item onto that, but we're still in the talks. So that's something that we're still working out. But is there any other items or anything that we need to discuss right now?
One thought, kind of thinking ahead, is Nate Cole gonna be at the same time for our October meeting? I question. It's the next week.
It's the following week.
The 26th, right? The 26th to the 30th.
Yes, it's the following week.
Do we have any board member comments regarding the future agenda items? Any staff comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, we could, and we'll work obviously with the chair, on when to schedule the next, discussion so that you all can have an opportunity to take a look at additional topics. I know that there have been a lot of, timely topics lately, that kind of have caused a necessity to kind of rearrange some of them, but I would imagine that would be coming in the near future.
When can we do a discussion on the budget?
Well, like I said before, we'll be reaching out to you, Member Berg, so that we can get a little bit more clarity. We'll work with the chair and then we'll put that on as one of the suggested topics that you all can take a look at. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at what staff can put something together so that we can start working on it. Thank you.
Also, could staff possibly update the topics list online? Because I believe it only goes up to April.
Yeah, we will do that. Thank you.
One more thing, Steve. I did get a community request to add the names on the agenda who are on our committees. I wasn't able to do anything on all the committees, but yeah, on the agenda, if we could indicate who the committee members are on those three.
You're talking about the policy goal.
Oh, okay.
I've made a note. I can do that moving forward.
Thank you for that, Wendy. All right, on to adjournment. The next meeting will be September 17th here in the chambers, I believe. Yeah, here in the chambers at 5:30 p.m. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.